In the United States, this car was ordinary. A big family sedan you'd find as a fleet car, a taxi, a police cruiser, nothing special.
In Brazil, the very same design, with the very same engine, became the ultimate symbol of luxury and ended up carrying the president. It even changed its name along the way.
Things you've never seen now revealed.
This is Cars in
In
Detail.
1974, Ford retired the Galaxie name in the United States after 16 years on the road. Its place was taken by the LTD and later by the Crown Victoria, the car most people recognize from American films as a yellow taxi or a police cruiser. So in America, that identity ended in '74. But the car itself did not stop. 4,000 miles south, in Brazil, the very same design kept being built until 1983, 9 more years, under a name that had never existed as a standalone model in the United States at all. It was called the Landau, and it wasn't just a badge change. In America, that car was ordinary. In Brazil, it carried the president.
And it's worth sitting with how ordinary it was in its home country. The Ford Galaxie was born in the United States in 1959, at the height of the era of enormous American sedans. It was a mass-market car, the kind you found in a neighbor's driveway, in a company fleet, at a taxi rank, and in police livery. Nothing about it announced status. It was everywhere precisely because it was popular, which makes what happened to it in Brazil genuinely strange. The same steel, the same engine, the same silhouette became the single most prestigious car in the country.
It arrived in Brazil in 1967, built at São Bernardo do Campo, and it holds a specific place in that country's industrial history. It was the first passenger car Ford ever produced in Brazil. Based on the American 1966 model, it stood out for something rare at the time. It was a Brazilian-built car, genuinely in step with what was being sold abroad. In an era when most locally produced vehicles were a generation behind, this one was nearly identical to the original. And it already carried one difference that explains everything that followed.
In the United States, the Galaxie was sold in many body styles: sedan, coupe, station wagon, convertible. It was an entire range for every budget and every use. In Brazil, only one version came, the four-door sedan, a single slice of the range. And look what happened to that slice. Instead of being one option among many, it became the car at the very top of the entire national market because there was essentially no competitor. Across 16 years of production, almost nothing built in Brazil challenged it in that segment. Over 5 meters long, body-on-frame construction, front V8, rear-wheel drive. In a country that was industrializing and dreaming of modernity, that car wasn't transport. It was a rolling announcement that you had arrived.
And then comes the part that gives this series its name. The moment the car stopped being a copy and became something else entirely. It has a date, and it explains why a Brazilian legend was born out of an American commodity.
The name Landau appeared for the first time in 1971, but not as a model. It came as the top version of the range, badged LTD Landau, having been shown at the São Paulo Motor Show the previous year. And it arrived with details that sound small today and said everything at the time. A hood ornament, wheel covers borrowed from American Lincolns, a vinyl roof, and a smaller rear window that gave the back seat a sense of privacy. It was the same car as the neighbors, wearing the signals that it was not the same car as the neighbors. And that version began pulling away from the rest.
But the real break came in 1976, with the first and only major restyling of the line. And it was not cosmetic. The front and rear were completely redesigned, with treatments exclusive to Brazil that separated the Brazilian car from the American one for good. The headlights went horizontal, the rear received its own light cluster, and the whole design came to clearly resemble the 1965 Lincoln Continental, which was the absolute top of Ford's American hierarchy. Notice the move. The Brazilian car stopped imitating the American Ford and started imitating the American Lincoln, one rung above. And that is the moment the Landau became a model in its own right, at the top of the range alongside the Galaxie 500 in the LTD. All of them gained the 302 engine, nearly 5 liters, around 198 horsepower, and lighter than the 292 it replaced.
And then the social meaning, which is where this stops being a car story. The Landau was adopted as the official car of the presidency of Brazil. And not briefly, a 1982 Landau served as the presidential vehicle until 1991, almost a decade after production had ended. The recorded reason is simple and revealing. There was no other vehicle with its combination of space, comfort, and quietness on the road. That car sits today in the Automobile Museum in Brasilia. There are other records too. In 1980, Ford delivered an ethanol-powered Landau to President João Figueiredo as a way of promoting Brazil's new fuel. And former President Juscelino Kubitschek owned a 1974 Galaxie LTD in dark red, in which he would rest in the back seat during long journeys.
But the strongest memory of this car isn't in the capital. It's on ordinary streets. Because anyone who lived through that period in Brazil knows exactly what one of those V8s sounded like rolling past slowly. They know the weight of the door closing, that low, solid sound no modern car makes. They know the smell of a vinyl roof heating in the sun. And there is a very good chance that somewhere in their family or a neighbor's, there is a wedding photograph with one of these parked outside the church. Because for decades, the Landau was Brazil's wedding car. The one you hired for the most important day of your life, precisely because it meant something. And like everything people love, it earned nicknames. It was known as the Galaxie, roughly the Big Galaxy, and the LTD version, with its airboxes painted matte black below the bodyline, was nicknamed the Black Belt.
The end came on the 2nd of April, 1983, when the last one left the assembly line at São Bernardo do Campo. Around 78,000 units across 16 years. And what killed it wasn't a lack of affection, it was fuel consumption and the oil crisis. A 5-liter V8 stopped making sense in a world counting every liter. Its place in the range was taken by the Del Rey. Smaller, more economical, more modern. And in the words of the period's own motoring press, the Del Rey never managed to carry the same prestige. Because prestige isn't designed on a drawing board. It accumulates through who drove it, where it appeared, and what people felt watching it go by.
Which brings us to the idea behind this whole series. We tend to assume a car is what it is, a set of parts, an engine, a specification sheet. It isn't. A car is what it means in the place where it lands. The same steel, the same engine, and the same silhouette can be unremarkable in one country and majestic in another. And what decides that is not engineering. It's who could afford it. It's who was seen driving it. It's what that country happened to be dreaming about at that moment in its history. The Galaxie and the Landau are one car with two biographies, and the Brazilian one is the more interesting of the two, precisely because it was written there. That's why we look at cars and the stories behind them in detail.
Now tell me in the comments, is there a car that means something completely different in your country than it does everywhere else? And have you ever ridden in one of these? Write it below. I read them all. And these are the best stories on the channel. If this brought back a memory, leave a like, subscribe, and send it to someone who lived through that era. And don't miss the next episode of the series about the van the rest of the world stopped building and Brazil kept making for decades afterwards until it became a piece of national identity. See you there, here on Cars in Detail.